My name is Sirisha Adimathyam, and I'm the CEO and founder of Innovosens AB. We are developing a biowearable device called SMASH, Sweat Metabolite Analysis for Sports and Health. And our mission statement is to be pioneers in achieving world leadership through smart biowearables for personalized diabetes management and fitness. Of course, it's all about diabetes management, but I wouldn't be talking much about the figures because we already know the consequences and complications of diabetes as a disease. The picture you're seeing out here is my father. He has been a victim of type 2 diabetes for about 3 decades before he lost his life. And he had gone through a series of amputations, and the cause of his death was diagnosed to be CKD, chronic kidney disease, which was very unfortunate. But then I personally believed that right treatment in right time and a personalized diabetes tool would have saved his life. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and then now it's my turn. I have been diagnosed type 2 about 2 to 3 decades ago. I was only 15 years when I was diagnosed with type 2. And then I've discovered that I'm most active during the first 6 hours in a day, despite following the rule book of the nurse in terms of right medication, diet, and exercise. We still can't figure out what's the reason for being active only during the first couple of hours and then why the energy goes low during the rest of the day. Since then, I've been obviously curious to understand what happens to my lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates, and how is my disease progressing. And I've been looking for answers and solutions in the market. Unfortunately, there are not many who could help me with these answers. So this thinking has kind of sown the seeds for starting the company around diabetes management. And we also conducted a study recently against the growing number of diabetic patients against decreasing number of doctors. And we figured out, there are about 800 endocrinologists against 1 million patients in a country like India, where people severely fall sick day in and day out, and they end up in critical care. We're trying to solve all the problems related to hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. And the doctors, on the other hand, cannot handle it due to lack of tools. And the reality in some of the hospitals is that these doctors are fighting cases against themselves in the courts, because some of these patients who go to them for treatments towards the fag end of their lives, they think the doctors are not treating them right, and they sue them. And unfortunately, all of these doctors are, fighting cases. So these people are basically calling for better diabetes management solutions. And we realize that type 2 diabetes is more of a serious condition, just like type 1. More than 90% of the total diabetic population are type 2, and 50% do not even realize that they are type 2. That's a very sad situation. So we intend to create better diabetes management tools with wearable technology and IoT-based sensors. We believe that type 2s would need continuous monitoring of multiple parameters. So our solution is a wearable sensor. It's pain-free. It's multi-parametric. It's continuous monitoring sweat sensor. The solution comprises of body-worn hardware and an app. The 3-layered sensor that you're seeing over there, the first layer comprises of electrodes. The second layer is the actual microfluidic sensor, which collects the sweat from the 4 micro inlets on the PDMS layer, and it senses multiple parameters at once and replenishes the sweat once the measurements are taken. And the third layer is simply the skin adhesive. And then this sensor can be worn on top of the skin. Sorry about that. And then the values are transported through a Bluetooth-enabled PC board to the app. I'm holding this over here. This is as small as this could get. This is the PC board. This was previously big, so I was wearing it on my arm, but now it's gotten so small that I can't wear it anymore on my arm. And the design would look something like this. This is how we are envisioning it now. That's the sensor, which is supposed to be on the skin, collecting the sweat and monitoring multiple parameters, and it can be simply worn on the arm like a wristband. That's the unique product. And we have filed a PCT of late for this unique way of collecting the sweat through the skin, measuring multiple parameters and replenishing the sweat once the measurements are taken. And we also have a couple of other patents on the way for design and application and for a machine learning algorithm. This is our competitive landscape. In the first quadrant, you will see the most renowned companies, great technologies, great inventions. However, there's a certain level of inconvenience associated with these subcutaneous sensors because you need to place these sensors in the arm. That means you have to perform a mini operation every time you have to wear the sensor. So it is an inconvenience to the patients like me, and I would never do that. And these sensors need to be placed every 15 days to 1 month because they have enzymes and they get rotten. So they have to be replaced. And they are not available over the counter in most parts of the countries because they're usually prescribed to type 1s through the doctors and not over the counter, and they're also expensive. And over here, we all know these invasive sensors, and we all want to get rid of this painful pricking process. These are some of the companies which are actually developing non-invasive sensors today. But they're not close to what we are doing. They're not targeting sweat metabolites, and they're not targeting multi-parametric simultaneous measurements. So we definitely stand a good chance when it compared to other companies in terms of competition. Yeah, I mean, we all know the market share, increasing number of diabetic patients in different parts of the world, leading to increasing costs in billions of dollars, with no signs of slowing down. We at least want to save 10% of these costs to begin with in the next coming years. Our target customers are type 2s, early diabetics, gestational diabetics, obese individuals, and anybody who's wanting to prevent diabetes and who's wanting to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Besides, our MVP is targeted to athletes. This is based on the market need and also on the literature that athletes would need continuous monitoring of multiple parameters in order to help them achieve peak performances. And it's also a strategy for us to get to the market while we are trying to get a diabetic device clinically approved. Our revenue model, obviously, we would out-license it the moment we get the devices clinically approved. But then, if you're scaling up and going ahead, then we would, target the distributors for both private and public hospitals and insurance giants, and we would, give away the devices on subscription model to old age homes and through partnerships to diabetic care centers. Our pricing strategy is, like I mentioned before, it's a subscription model. Our sensors are consumables, so we would refill them on a regular alert basis, and electronics is reusable, and we would provide a monthly subscription for the app. This is our team. It's multidisciplinary. It's a combination of science and technology. Christian is out here. Christian, if you please raise your hand. Christian is the CTO of the company. He has been part of multiple other medtech companies, both in the US and in Denmark. Right now, he's heading the team of both the sensors and the electronics for Innovosens. Bjorn Erik Erlandsen, he has been a former dean of KTH for Biomedical Engineering Department. He brings in both sides of experience, academics and industry. He's going to help us along the way towards clinical trials and regulatory processes as we go on, and many other things. Poorna is the co-founder of the company. He comes with a similar background of medtech industry, and his core strength is like product development in both hardware and software. These two are little unicorns, angel investors, and also partly board members. They also come from similar experience of heading medtech and life science companies, exiting some of them, public listing some of them. Both of them come from biomedical engineering and medicine as their academic backgrounds. This is the advisory team. I think most of you recognize Olaf Anderson. He's the CEO of Medion, and he's been more or less a backbone of Innovosens, helping us and supporting us right from the operations to the legal advice and many other things. Dr. Wang is the person behind the sensor. He's the inventor of this sensor. He is heading, nano engineering department in the University of California, San Diego. His invention is backed up by years of research and development. He's a renowned name in the field of biowearables, globally. Dr. Turner also comes from similar background. He's been advising us for about 1.5 years now. And Victoria is also, coming from similar background of biotech, and she's been part of Midion Science Park Incubator. That's in the nutshell about our team. Some of our best moments last year, we've had the privilege of presenting the company in events like Bio Europe, Anilus Days, Nordic American Life Science Days, and many others where we had the privilege of presenting the company, getting some traction, and also fairly developing an interesting investor pipeline. Yeah, some of our partners, some existing ones and some potential ones and some more to come. I would skip this, I think, to save some time for you, Jonas. This has been a timeline last year. We are done with the bench-tested prototype. We have the right team and the traction, and we have also designed the product now. And we have valued the company at 12 million Swedish, and we issued the first shares late last year and secured angel investment about 1 million Swedish, and we are still raising funding now. This is what we aim to do. We are raising about 10 million Swedish for us to be able to do the next steps. And with the little money what we have now, we are developing the first couple of miniaturized prototypes, which we will be testing in the sports environment, as the MVP is targeted towards the athletes now. We will finish the quality control in the next couple of months, CE market for hardware and software, and launch our MVP towards the end of this year or beginning of 2020, and then begin our clinical trials and regulatory processes for the diabetic device. This is a development plan. We are in stage 1 now. We are targeting to monitor single parameter with a smartwatch and a smart band. And then as we go on, we will add on multiple parameters for simultaneous measurements, and then we'll have more data points with which we'll be able to make comprehensive analysis of those multi-parameters in terms of diet, exercise, and medication. Stage 3, we plan to add more parameters, and then stage 4, we will move into further application areas. This is our exit plan. We are in 2019 and 20, where we are heading towards MVP and the clinical trials, and then 2021 we will finish the, apply and run the clinical trial, and perhaps we will get to the end of clinical trials by end of 2022, when we'll be ready for exit or scale up or launch. This is how we plan to do this. Yes, thank you for listening. Thank you, BioStock. Thank you, Jonas, for giving me an opportunity to pitch out here. We are looking for partnerships. We are looking for funding. We are looking for networking. Many others, like a small startup, would do. Please join us in this mission of creating personalized diabetes management tools for millions of diabetic patients like me. Thanks for listening.